When the student is ready, the teacher appears. It was the spring of 2021. I had just started a 6-month sabbatical from a job I had worked for the past 22 years. Now, I had literally grown up in this company. It had been my first job, and this job had provided me a lot over the years. I was very grateful for all that I had learned and the friends that I'd made along the way. Heck, I'd even met my wife at this job. However, I was also growing disenchanted and feeling unfulfilled with the work. I was to turn 40 years old that summer, and I had this feeling that something was missing in my life. Now, I could only explain it as just that, a feeling. The feeling had yet to accompany itself with any kind of voice or calling of any sort. It was just my sixth sense, my intuition, manifesting itself in the pit of my stomach every day with sort of strange, nervous energy. I needed to step away from my job and try and put words and actions to this feeling that I had. My wife was out of town for the first 6 weeks that I had off. She left the morning of my last day at work, so the timing of things saw me having the first 6 weeks of my 6 months off all to myself. I remember the feeling of contentment and freedom that I got from these first few weeks. It truly felt like anything was possible. Reflecting back, I remember taking 5 classes offered at Mind Valley. I journaled a lot. I spent a lot of time composing music, and I spent a lot of time outside in nature with my dogs. I enjoyed a massive period of growth, learning, creativity, and self-rediscovery. Now, I say self-rediscovery as I felt like I misplaced what made me me. Somewhere along my life path, I compromised my principles and allowed myself to take a different path. One that was much more based on the external, the needs of the ego, my ego. So what were my principles anyways? I'd never really put that to paper before. I felt uncertain. I started writing down what I believed to be my key values or principles, and they felt like just words. I remember just looking down at the paper going, what do these words even mean to me? Where do they come from? Are they my parents' principles? Were they society's championed principles? Was I trying to impress people in order for them just to like me? What were my motives here in life? I had definitely reached a period of existential crisis. I believe some refer to that as a midlife crisis, although in my case, I refrained from buying any expensive convertible or motorcycle. I did, however, ask myself some tough questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? And why? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. One morning, roughly halfway through my sabbatical, I received an email from an oddly charming fellow podcaster musician by the name of Mike Schwartz. Now, he booked me to come on his podcast to talk about how band life had been affected during this pandemic period. As it would turn out, however, we totally hit it off. We ended up talking for about 3.5 hours about everything to do with life. The interview never technically happened. It was just one of those special times where you meet somebody and you find yourself a kindred spirit instantaneously. I remember telling Mike that I'd been working on developing an online creativity course. Think Walt Disney's creative strategy meets the book, The War of Art. And I was aiming to be a creative coach as my new career choice. I was excited to see how stoked Mike was by this idea. He even started sharing some of what he called the Enlifted Story work style of coaching. We went over soft talk keywords. He was saying things like negation acknowledged throughout our conversation. I thought it was pretty cool. I was definitely intrigued. As we wrapped up our epic 3-hour first conversation that we ever had, Mike had a homework assignment for me. Reach out to a guy by the name of Mark England over at Enlifted. So within 24 hours, I was on a call with Mark, sharing with him where I was and what I was looking to do. Meanwhile, he shared with me what they're all about over at Team Enlifted. He also invited me to a breathwork class that upcoming Sunday morning, hosted by a guy by the name of Brandon Powell. Now, halfway through the breathwork class, I remember my brain flooded with endorphins, the summer sun hitting my face through the open window. I watched as Brandon, wearing his Elvis sunglasses, delivered a unique blend of ethnic EDM, all the while providing an AM radio-style voiceover, instructing participants how and when to breathe. This is where I need to be, I told myself, speaking of the Enlifted community. I had not yet fully committed to signing up at that time, but needless to say, that after the breathwork class, that's what sealed the deal. For the next 2 months, I went through my Enlifted Level 1 certification, relearning how to speak to myself, how to speak to others, how to coach somebody out of their victim mentality, how to breathe properly, how to take my ego and imposter syndrome and laugh at it, and even fart all over it. Better breath plus better words equals a better life. I aired out my stories. I reframed my own narratives in a much more accepting and constructive way. I made some new lifelong friends, and I rediscovered who I am. I rediscovered me. I am growth. I am acceptance. I am health. And I am courage. I am in me. I am. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. You retain 30% of what you read. You retain 50% when you write it down. You retain 80% when you teach it. And I am here to teach as it was taught to me. I am here to help people rediscover who they truly are, as I have rediscovered who I truly am. And I will hold a candle for them. I will hold space for them. I will do that because I now know who I am and why I am here. And my students will find me when they are ready. And I will be here. With my words, I create and influence. Abracadabra.